Let's highlight another one from the 2025 class. That's offensive tackle Andrew Babalola. The five-star product from Overland Park, Kansas, has a wide open recruitment, although I don't know I'm saying that again. I got in trouble for saying it earlier in the show. We'll learn more in just a bit on this segment. But one thing is for sure, according to our 24/7 Sports national recruiting analyst, Alan True, he is a War Daddy recruit. I'm excited to welcome on Alan True to the show to tell us a little bit more about what that means. I loved your story on Babalola, talking about picking him as a War Daddy recruit. You talked about how his transition from being recruited as a forward in basketball to now a five-star offensive tackle. What did you learn about this extreme transformation for him?
Yeah, what's really interesting is that he was making that transition and put out some spring film. It was just practice film, and he started getting offers just based off of that. And he got ranked pretty highly. He was in our initial top 75 before he had even had any actual game film. It was scrimmage film, it was practice film. And so I think since then he's continued to develop towards the ceiling that everybody thought that he would get to. And that's why today he's a five-star and so coveted. But when you watch this game film now, it doesn't look like a guy who was only playing basketball just 2 years ago. He's really taken to the physicality of the game. He's a super intelligent kid who's picked it up quickly, but I think that was the question. Knew he was athletic, knew he was big. Would he be physical? And he certainly has come around on that part of the game. So truly a five-star talent that still hasn't even gotten to where he can get to yet. A lot of ceiling left to go.
Alan, he plays one of those premium positions. There aren't that many premier and elite offensive tackles across the country, so he's obviously coveted, and he's one of those players that's highly pursued. What's the latest in his recruitment?
Yeah, when I wrote that War Daddy story, he said in it that he was going to narrow down to 5 schools to take official visits to at that time, and he has set those official visits since then. He was just at Auburn over the weekend. Kind of an interesting tidbit for Tigers fans. His brother goes to Tuskegee, so it's in the same state, not far away. That's definitely an important piece for Auburn. He's going to take an official to Michigan. He really likes them. Academics are big for him. He's talked about Michigan's academics. He's taken an official out to Stanford. Development, that's another important piece. Missouri has been really dangerous when it comes to any recruit that the Tigers are in on. It seems like they are right there in the thick of every single national battle that they want to be on. So can't count out Mizzou. They're close by. And then Oklahoma also has an outstanding tradition of offensive tackle and offensive line development. Bill Bedenbaugh does a great job of recruiting that position. So I think I'm not surprised those are the 5 schools he came down to. I know he was considering USC and Kansas State, some schools like that as well, but these 5 have to feel pretty good about getting an official visit from him. Don't think he will drag the process out much after that. Do think he'll look to make a decision sometime in the summer after those officials are completed.
Make sure you check out that story at 247sports.com. But Alan, we also wanted to have you on to talk about your region, the Midwest region. We have official visit season right upon us. So what are some of the most interesting or intriguing recruiting battles as we head into official visits?
Yeah, I think the first one is kind of an immediate one, and I just heard you guys talking about committing too early. Emmanuel Carmo committed to Minnesota. He's an in-state kid, and then last night announced that he's going to take officials still to Wisconsin, Nebraska, and Ohio State, even though he's committed to Minnesota. He's also going to take an official with the Gophers, but it seems like they're going to have to hang on to him a little bit. He did take an unofficial with Ohio State just before he committed to Minnesota. Wisconsin offered around that time in April. He never really got a chance to get out there and see them or Nebraska before making his decision. So he said he's still probably committed to Minnesota, just wants to make sure he checks off those boxes. The Midwest is really good for defensive linemen this year, and I'm looking at a few for official visits. Marion Dye and Damian Shanklin from the state of Indiana, and then Jalen Williams from the state of Illinois is going to be a super interesting one. We actually favor Michigan right now in the crystal ball, but he hasn't set an official there yet. He's going to take an official down to Miami. I think the Hurricanes are dangerous there. He's also going to take officials with Wisconsin and Tennessee. So we'll see if he gets one scheduled to Michigan, because I still think they're the team to beat. He's close with one of their recent commits, Nate Marshall. So he's going to be an interesting one. Trey McNutt, 5-star safety out of Ohio. He hasn't announced his officials yet, so we still have to see just who he's going to take his officials to, and even that's going to be a battle to get those official visits. He was just down at Georgia. He's visited Texas A&M, so he's looking down south as well as close to home. Ohio State, still the in-state school to beat. A lot of people think that's where he's ultimately going to end up, but he's taking a look at schools from all across the country. So a few interesting battles still left in my region as we head into June here.
Several prospects to keep an eye on, and there are several schools to keep an eye on, especially with the new integration of some of the Big Ten programs. It's been 5 months since Michigan State's new staff arrived in East Lansing. How would you describe, Alan, what they've done on the recruiting trail since?
Yeah, I think they've done an excellent job. They closed the last class strong. You and our staff out west were busy covering Michigan State at the end of last cycle. They've carried that momentum over to 25. It took them a minute to get some commits. They didn't have a 2025 commit for a long time. I think people started to wonder, but now the momentum's really going. Picked up a quarterback from out west, Leo Hannon, who I think was a really good pickup for them. Recently won some really nice local battles for linebacker Damari Malone, running back Jace Clarizio, and tight end Emmett Bork. I think that's when you look at their official visit schedule in June, there are several kids that I think could easily end up in this class. I think in-state offensive tackle Nakai Wynn is one to watch. They recently offered in-state defensive tackle Derek Simmons. I think those are two guys they can definitely get. I think they can get into Ohio, pick up wide receiver Braylon Collier and linebacker Grant Bierman. So look for this staff to continue that momentum into the summer. But so far, so good. I think they've done a really, really good job on the recruiting trail, and that really goes right back to their first steps in the 2024 class.
Another Big Ten team having a lot of success in the recruiting trail. Penn State, top 7 right now, or top 10 at number 7 with 13 commits. But Alan, as we know in this game, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. So how do you see them ending up when it's all said and done?
Yeah, I think they have a great chance to keep in that mark or in that top 10. At least they had some big guys on campus. They're going to have some coming up. They just had Yosei Epinesa, one of the top defensive ends in the country, was just on campus for his official. He's an Iowa legacy. Dad played there, brother played there, but Penn State's battling away. They lead on the crystal ball for wide receivers, Nashawn Montgomery and Lex Cyrus. So in good shape to add a couple of playmakers to the class. I could a 4-star cornerback out of the state of Ohio. I'm currently on Michigan, but I think Penn State's made a real impression there, and I think they could get him. They've got official visits coming up for several high-end prospects, including 4-star Jaden Blair and offensive lineman Michael Carroll, who's highly coveted. 5-star Zayden Walker is going to be on campus, so plenty of recruits left on the board here for Penn State to get in the class and keep that top 10 ranking that they currently sit on.
Luke Fickell is entering his second full year at Wisconsin, and the Badgers have a top 20 class right now as things stand in the 2025 cycle. How do you see this class shaking out, Alan, for the rest of the cycle?
Yeah, just not too long ago, you wondered if they would have a top 25 class. They had a couple of decommits, and Badger fans were wondering where this class was going to go, and they've done an excellent job bouncing back to now have a top 20 class, and they have a bunch of official visitors coming in next month as well. I'm close to some crystal balls in the Midwest for wide receiver Cameron Flowers out of Michigan, tight end Nizzy Davis out of Indiana. They're also going to get offensive tackle Darren Stry up on an official visit. I think they're right in the thick of it for him. I think they're right there for defensive linemen Jaden Woods and Jaquan Stubbs. Woods would be a big pickup for them. He fits their system really well. He's a 4-star guy out of the state of Kansas, and so just even getting an official visit out of him, a big one for the Badgers. Also, we mentioned Carmo before, Minnesota commit coming up to Wisconsin. They're also going to get Aru Tabawali, defensive tackle from the state of Minnesota, up. Ryman Zybert, a tight end from the state of Nebraska. So they're getting over into other Big Ten teams' territories and having some success also.
We love to see it. Brings out all the recruiting drama. Alan, thank you so much for being here. Be sure to check out more of his work at 247sports.com, especially that piece on Andrew Babalola. Highly recommend it. He's such an interesting prospect. But thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. Hey, double the 5 stars, double the fun. That's what I like to say, and that's what we're doing here on the 247 Sports YouTube channel. Coming up on Wednesday, we're going from 16 to the full 32. That is Wednesday at 1 o'clock Eastern. Tune in for a special edition of the College Football Recruiting Show with members of our scouting team. We will reveal the new names live on the show, so you've got to tune in. We'll also give some reasoning behind those selections, so we'll make sure to see you back here Wednesday at 1 Eastern. For Blair and Gulo, I'm Emily Proud, and this is the College Football Recruiting Show.